Hook 015s. You got the raise, the one you spent 2 years asking for, the one you practiced negotiating in the mirror, the one you told yourself would finally make everything feel okay. And then, it didn't. Tension, 15 to 60s. Something strange happens to people who finally start earning more money. They don't feel richer. They feel the same. Or worse, they feel like they're somehow falling further behind, even with more coming in every month. And the terrifying part? They're not imagining it. This isn't just a feeling. This is a pattern. A documented, predictable, almost mechanical trap that swallows raises, bonuses, and promotions whole and leaves people standing on the other side wondering what happened. The economists have a name for it: lifestyle inflation. But that name makes it sound like a choice, like something you consciously decided to do. The truth is far more unsettling than that. Body. Let's start with a question nobody asks out loud. When your income goes up, who benefits most? You might assume the answer is you. You got the raise. The money goes into your account. But if you look at the actual spending data, the picture is different. Research published in the Journal of Economic Psychology found that for every significant income increase, discretionary spending rises almost immediately and not gradually. Within 6 months of a salary jump, most earners have restructured their financial life to absorb that new income almost completely. New rent, new car, new subscriptions, a different grocery store, a gym that's actually nice, a wardrobe that feels appropriate for someone at your level now. None of these decisions feel like decisions. They feel like natural upgrades. They feel earned, and that's the trap. Here's what nobody tells you about income psychology. The brain doesn't experience wealth as an absolute number. It experiences wealth as a ratio, as a gap between what you have and what people around you have. Psychologists call this social comparison theory, and it's been rewiring how humans measure success since long before money existed. When you earn more, you tend to move into environments where other people also earn more. New neighborhood, new restaurant, new colleague with a better car, and suddenly your reference point shifts. What felt like abundance 6 months ago now feels ordinary. Sometimes it feels like barely keeping up. This is why lottery winners famously return to their baseline happiness level within 2 years. This is why people making $400,000 a year still describe themselves as middle class. The target moves. It always moves. But there's a second layer here that's even more interesting. Let's talk about what happens to your identity when your income changes. When you get a promotion, you don't just get more money. You get a new self-concept. You become someone who earns at a higher level, and that new identity comes with invisible expectations. Expectations about where you live, what you wear, where you eat, what you drive, what kind of vacations you take. Nobody sends you a memo. Nobody sits you down and explains the rules, but somehow you know them, and more importantly, you start enforcing them on yourself. This is what researchers at Stanford called identity-based spending. The idea that a significant portion of our consumption isn't driven by what we need or even what we want. It's driven by what we feel we must spend to remain consistent with who we now believe we are. A junior analyst can eat lunch at the food truck. The senior manager cannot. Not because of any actual rule, because it would feel wrong. Because identity has spending requirements, and those requirements scale with income. So here's the brutal math that nobody shows you during the performance review. You get a 15% raise. Taxes take a portion immediately. You move somewhere slightly nicer because your old place no longer fits the mental image you have of yourself. You upgrade your car because the old one felt out of place in the new parking lot. You start going to places where the social cost of entry is higher. And within 8 months, your monthly surplus is exactly what it was before the raise, or less. You worked harder to stay exactly where you were, and here's where it gets darker. Because the lifestyle inflation trap isn't just about spending. It's about what happens to your sense of safety. Financial anxiety research consistently shows that people don't feel financially secure based on how much they earn. They feel secure based on how much margin they have, how much gap exists between what comes in and what goes out. If your raise collapses that margin because your spending expanded to meet it, you haven't reduced your anxiety. You've just relocated it to a higher income bracket. You're now stressed about different things, but you're equally stressed. Some studies suggest the anxiety actually increases because now you have more to lose. Bigger rent, more expensive car, a lifestyle that requires a certain number to sustain, and the fear of falling back becomes a different kind of weight. This is why pay transparency laws are quietly detonating inside organizations right now. When employees discover their salary ranges, the anger isn't just about fairness. It's about the realization that they built their entire life around a number that was always being managed, that their sense of what they were worth was calibrated against a system that had very specific incentives to keep them uncertain. The raise wasn't just money, it was a psychological management tool. And now they can see the strings. So why does the trap keep working? If this pattern is so predictable, why don't people just not fall into it? Because the trap is designed around the exact moment when you're least equipped to resist it. When you get a raise, you feel a surge of justified pride. You feel seen, recognized. You feel like you finally made it to the next level. And that emotional state, that validation high, is precisely when spending decisions feel most deserved. You're not being reckless, you're celebrating. You're investing in yourself. You're finally living the way someone at your level should live. The emotions arrive first. The spending follows immediately. The math catches up months later when the feeling is gone and the bills remain. Climax. Here's the central insight that most financial content will never tell you because it's uncomfortable and it doesn't sell anything. The raise was never the problem. The system around the raise is the problem. A system that manufactures new desires the moment old ones are satisfied. A culture that translates income milestones into identity requirements. An economy that is specifically, structurally optimized to absorb your surplus before you even notice it's there. This isn't weakness. This isn't poor discipline. This is what happens when human psychology, social comparison wiring, identity mechanics, and consumption culture all converge on the exact moment you finally feel like you're winning. The trap doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like progress. That's what makes it genius. And that's what makes it devastating. Ending. The question worth sitting with isn't how much you earn. It's what your money is actually doing when it arrives. Is it building margin? Is it buying security? Is it reducing your exposure to the system that created the anxiety in the first place? Or is it just funding a slightly more expensive version of the same quiet stress you were already carrying? More money can change your life, but only if it changes faster than your expectations do. Most people never win that race. And the saddest part is, nobody told them they were running one.